Found out a lot of things today, folks. Going down to the RNC, getting set up to get my certification to be a poll worker, and hopefully a clerk as well. Be able to take people's ID and scan them through, give them their paper ballot, let them fill it out, send it through the machine, give them the I voted sticker, and go on to the next one so we can get this country back in order. I'm glad and thankful that I'm going to be able to be a part of this, volunteering to get this done. I've got a couple of classes I've got to take online for the Secretary of State's office over the weekend. I've got to take these classes so that way I'm ready to rock and roll when it's time to do it. But I did lots of signing up for stuff today. Met some really great people down at the RNC today. A lot of ladies that have been doing it for years and years, poll watchers, poll workers. And I heard some really crazy stories as well. I did find out some things about Texas here. It is a paper ballot county, and they've got three ways to verify the vote. One, you sign a little piece of paper, and they take that little piece of paper, which is a sticker, and they put it on the voter login after you scan your ID, and they recognize you are a registered voter. There's your first set of credentials or verifiability. Then you get your paper ballot, you fill it out, you send it through the machine. If there's any errors, you're gonna have to fill out another one because the machine will not take any screw ups on the little bubble sheet. But at the end of the day, the numbers on the machine that have been sent to the machine have to match the actual number of pieces of paper. So that's a second way of checking the system. The third way the system is checked is there is a seal that is never broken until the last moment of counting at the end of the day on election day, uh, end of the day on November 5th, that is brought in by the election managers from each precinct. These things have seals that, if they're broken, we'll know about it. What they have is they have detachable flash drives underneath these seals in these tabulator machines. And if the paper number doesn't match the machine number, if the signature on the paper doesn't match uh, your driver's license doesn't verify that you're a registered voter. The seals on the USB drive on there. These are all three good ways to make sure they're not doing shenanigan type things in our election process. So I'm just glad to see and glad to know that McLennan County is doing all they can to prevent the shenanigans here. Hopefully, the whole state of Texas is doing it. But truth be known, I believe we're going to have a lot of problems with Bexar County because those folks up there around Houston and areas like that, they do not like doing it the proper way. You know those Democratic run hellholes. You know what I'm talking about, folks. Talking about elections, I do want to let y'all know that we have got a huge, huge win in Michigan. This has been going back and forth in the courts. It's been appealed. The RNC has been fighting to basically fight for signature verification on these ballots, and we got a win today. Here we go, folks. Let's read the whole thing together. Get my goggles out. Do a little bit of reading. This is about the best news I've heard all day. It says Michigan mail-in ballots, which that's one of the states we need to win, will now only be counted with the proof of signature verification after the RNC wins another lawsuit against the lawless Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. That's great news. Signature verification only. I love it. I love it. That is great news. I'm glad we got the RNC there to help sue to get this stuff done. The RNC and the Michigan GOP won a lawsuit against Michigan officials for failing to verify absentee ballots. Earlier this month, Michigan's Republicans sued Michigan's Democratic Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson for failing to verify mail in ballots. This was the ninth lawsuit Jocelyn Benson has lost to the Republican Party. I love it. I love it, folks. This is getting good. Now, let me scroll down here and do a little reading for you, folks. There's actually quite a bit to read here. Oh, that's actually the wrong article. Let me jump that back out of there. Apologize, folks. I don't know what happened there. Got sidetracked on my article. Here we go. Apologize, apologize. Sometimes this computer doesn't act the way it needs to. It just acts how it wants to. It says recent guidance has issued a Michigan Secretary of State will undermine protections for absentee voters, leading to improper handling and counting of absentee ballots. We are suing to protect absentee ballot safeguards in Michigan and This will help make it easy to vote and hard to cheat in the Wolverine state. All right, it says Michigan Republican Party Chairman Pete Hoekstra stated on our Secretary of State is actively interfering in Michigan's elections, disregarding the very laws she's supposed to enforce. The Michigan Republican Party will never stop fighting for the safety and security of our election, so every single Michigander can feel confident in their vote no matter how they choose to exercise that right. Here's the background on it. Michigan laws requires that the clerks mark absentee ballots with envelopes, date ballots was received, verify voter signatures, and thus identity, and thus their identity, and provide a statement on the envelope that the signature was verified and the ballot is approved for tabulation. If either the date or approval of statement is missing, Michigan law requires that the ballot not be tabulated. If they not signed, they not dated right, they're out of there. During this year's statewide primary, the RNC election integrity team discovered that many ballots were approved for tabulation without the required statement the signature was verified. This is a direct result of Jocelyn Benson's guidance to her election officials. She's telling them, don't worry about it, which omits the requirements that clerks mark ballots with a statement that the signature have been verified, so they're in violation right there. These are the basic absentee voter safeguards that Secretary Benson continues to undermine. So the RNC chair sued says the RNC chairman Michael Whatley and Laura Loomer celebrate a key win today. Great election integrity news for our battleground of Michigan. Michael Whatley said clerks were counting mail-in ballots without proof of signature verification, opening the doors to fraud. Results ballots will now only be counted after proof of signatures are verified. Huge win for the state and for the country. I love it. I love it. That's great news, folks. That is one more leg of protection against the shenanigans that go on in every friggin' state. Now, I've got a few things I wanted to bring to y'all on Twitter today, but first off, I want y'all to see, if y'all haven't already, there was a CNN clip that was actually worth watching. They had 10 and 11-year-olds on their panel. They were trying to ask them a bunch of questions to see if they would talk crap about Trump, talk crap about Kamala. I think they were trying to find some haters in the group of the 10 and 11-year-olds to see how they size up as far as questions on politics. I think it was a little bit shameful. There was some really great answers. Some of the kids went viral with just their spot on answers. Pretty long video clip. We'll watch a few minutes of it, but some of the kids went one way, some of the kids went the other way. But the sad part is, a lot of these kids, you could tell by their statements, have been programmed by their parents. And I guess it's okay if your parents are Democrats and they tell you that you're a Democrat, but in reality, hopefully by the time these kids get up to voting age, they start thinking for themselves. Whether it be Democrat or Republican, I prefer everybody not vote per political party, but vote per their choice of policies. Now, it seems like the last 10 or 15 years, the only person that's had any decent policies has been the Republican Party. So I have to give it to them on that. But they're trying to ask these kids about political policies, and some of them got some great answers, and some of them you can tell what their parents are like just by the kids' biased opinions. All right, here we go, folks. This is a little bit crazy. The first kid answers the first question. This is a great one. Make sure we got us over here in the middle of the screen. Alrighty.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear Donald Trump?
Pure evil.
Which one do you think is more selfish?
Like selfish? Probably her.
Kamala Harris?
Yeah, because girls are a little bit dramatic sometimes.
And do you think that people in the United States are ready to have another 4 years of Donald Trump if he's reelected?
No.
Why not?
Because, I feel like all he does is, complain and, yell.
The researchers found that opinions of the candidates from these 10 and 11-year-olds spanned a spectrum as wide as America.
Donald Trump, he's given his life and his heart.
She even shook hands with Mr. Trump to greet him before the debate, started the debate, which is pretty kind of when you're going against your opponent.
The study was designed by psychologist Ashley Landrum and political scientist Shanto Iyengar. Landrum conducted all the interviews and showed the students pictures of the candidates and asked them questions like,
Which one of these two do you think is more honest?
Which one of these two do you think would keep us safer if they were elected?
Landrum also showed them an emoji chart and a feelings chart and asked them questions like this.
I'm going to ask you how much you like each of these two candidates.
The questions were phrased to promote more open-ended conversations.
I live in an apartment. I want to get a house, but it's hard.
One thing that the kids talked a lot about, former President Trump's legal issues.
How much do you like Donald Trump using that scale?
Probably, Donald Trump probably hates me for doing this, so,
You really don't like Donald Trump?
I mean, come on, he went to, like, jail, I mean...
To be clear, while Trump was booked and released from jail, he didn't spend time behind bars. 32% of all students brought up the former president's legal issues. In general, kids who said they'd support Donald Trump did not see his legal problems as a disqualifier.
Hi, how are you doing today?
This was in May before Trump's conviction.
Should he be president again still?
Yeah, we can say, for example, JFK. He cheated on his wife, but, people still loved him. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, both slave owners. Being a slave owner is really bad. It's a really bad thing. But they still had 2 terms. So I think even though Trump has done bad stuff, he still deserves to run for president.
Just curious.
And now?
Which one of these two candidates do you think is more likely to do bad things?
Oh, convicted felon against a liar. Oh, I'm going to say Trump because he's a convicted felon.
Do you think it's okay for somebody who is a convicted felon to become president of the United States?
Yes.
Many children were also very aware of the first assassination attempt on former President Trump.
And which one do you think is tougher?
Hmm.
Donald Trump?
Because he did survive a gunshot.
And does anything else make him tougher, do you think? Or was it mostly his reaction to that?
He's also pretty brave. I mean, if I was president and I was talking in front of a lot of people, I would be really scared.
And why would something like that happen?
There's, a lot of cruel people in the world and stuff. And, whenever something, bad happens to them, they'll want to take it out on somebody else that they don't like.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel?
You get the point, folks. Several great segments in here. This thing goes on for about another 8 minutes, 6 or 8 minutes. But you're welcome to go find it over on CNN. 10 and 11-year-old kids talk politics on CNN. I'm not a big CNN fan, but I actually think this was pretty insightful because the kids actually get to be themselves. They were probably coached on the question somewhat and tried to set up a bias, but it didn't work that way. The kids were about 50-50. Some of them, or as far as we could tell, are Democrat-minded, and some of them are Republican-minded. And it's probably due to their parents, and maybe even the TV that has pushed them in that direction. Depends on what channel they watch, possibly. Not so much if the kids watch news, but who really knows at this point in time. Just thought that was kind of interesting, kind of even-handed. The kids are definitely as uninformed as the rest of us about what's really going on. And for those of us that are informed, we know who we're voting for. Now, I got a couple of things I want to scroll down and bring to y'all today. This right here was probably the best out of all these kids that spoke. In my opinion, this was the best take of them all.
It'd be good for us to have a black woman as president for the first time in history.
Yeah.
But my vote's kind of still on Trump. It'd be good for us to have...
But I'm still voting for Trump. I love it. I love it. That was the last one I wanted to bring y'all of that. Now, there's several things going on in the news cycle. There's a lot of talk about Trump plane being shot down behind 9 alleged missiles that have been allowed in the country, RPG type heat seeking missiles. They say there's 9 of them, possibly 3 possible groups trying to assassinate Trump. I don't know where all this information is coming from. I see a lot of talking about it, but I haven't seen a lot of fact-finding missions that have proven this to be the truth. If they knew about the missiles, where they at? Have they been confiscated? Is this what somebody told somebody after the fact? There's so many questions I still have about this whole scenario, but I definitely am curious about it because it's such a Trump is in such a high threat level situation that everybody's talking about it, and this may be the government's way of trying to set him up in advance, just so they got somebody to blame if it happens. There's so many scenarios here, so I don't even really want to get into it yet. But we got to pray for Trump and hope to God this never happens, and this is foiled before it ever gets any further. If they know all this information about it, in theory, they should be arresting these people. All right, we got Greg Gutfeld. Not a big fan of Fox these days, but I do like Gutfeld and a few on the 5. He had something to say that I thought was absolutely spot on, considering we just found out today that the ICE has put out some statistics involving the illegals, the murderers, the rapers, and all the 2+ million people that got away that we don't know where they fit in the stats numbers. But here we go, folks. If you haven't heard this yet, check this out.
But if you live in many of these cities all across America, you are seeing it with your own eyes. Like you don't necessarily even have to go to the border to see the results of what's happened in the last 3.5 years. And then these numbers are pretty stunning.
In the real world, she would be toast. And I don't like getting riled up for no reason because the story is so unbelievable. I wanted to see if it was reported elsewhere. You know, it couldn't find it on MSNBC, CNN, Drudge. You have the release of hundreds of thousands of foreign criminals, like they emptied the jails, raped thousands of rapists, thousands of murderers. And on the pages of all of these networks, the death of Maggie Smith, which is sad, great actress, Lana Del Rey's marriage, P. Diddy rumors, but nothing about what is easily one of the most probably the biggest crime story I've ever seen. So we know that Democrats watch this show. Some of them hate watching. But if you're watching this, the media doesn't want you to know this information. They don't want it to reach you. They would rather you die or be raped than Trump be right or find out the truth. So you can hate Fox all you want. You can hate Trump all you want. You can hate me. But you can't hate yourself and your family so much that you're going to ignore a story that puts them in danger. Now, even if these numbers are off by 50%, please, I think that the fact checkers should fact check it. You know, tell us, no, it's not 16,000 rapists. It's only 8,000. It's only 7,000 murders. Cool. I'm glad you're okay with that. I'll take your fact check. But anybody who defends this or says it's not that big a deal is complicit, and they should be held accountable. Every victim of every crime by the people that are in here that we haven't vilified, who are actual villains, you need to file a class action suit against this government. You know, Absolutely. These bastards were more offended by stories of cats being eaten than real stories reported here of actual rape and murder. And if you ask why those other stories existed, it was the only way to get these a-holes in the media to even look at this story. They can only see.
That's the sad truth, folks. These numbers are ridiculous today. We're talking 13,000 murderers, 15,000. I won't even say the word. I'm on YouTube. I'll just leave it alone. But that's a pretty disgusting situation to know that they care more about the statement of Haitians' feelings because they're eating the dogs and the cats than they do about actual people's lives being destroyed, literally. Now, right now, I'm sure Google is shaking in their boots because Trump has just announced that he will instruct his attorney general to prosecute at maximum level Google for election interference when he wins this election. They've been interfering in these elections since they've been knocking people off of YouTube, since they hornswoggled the search engines. There's so many things that Google does to sway the election in their direction. We know what direction that is. Big old D on their logo. Should be anyway. It has been determined that Google has illegally used a system of only revealing and displaying bad stories about Donald J. Trump. Some made up for purposes. Some made up for this purpose, while at the same time only revealing good stories about Comrade Kamala. This is an illegal activity. Hopefully, the Justice Department will criminally prosecute them for this blatant interference of elections. You have to get a new Justice Department first, Trump. If not, and subject of the laws of our, if not, and subject to the laws of our country, I will request their prosecution at the maximum level when I win the election and become president of the United States, and put in a new attorney general. I love it. I love it. He's threatening Google. They need to be threatened. They're not doing their damn job. There's no doubt about it. Now, folks, this here will be the last video I bring y'all today. This is just a day or two old, but this is a recap of why we're in the situation we're in, with worrying about people like Iran sending in sleeper cells with missiles to take out Trump. Even if the story's real or fake, this is why we're worrying about this. And Kash Patel breaks it down like nobody else. He's one of the best.
Stand back immorally and in the most un-American way and let this happen. Hacking and assassination plots against Donald Trump because it benefits them.
You're absolutely right. It's disgraceful, their conduct. It might even be borderline unconstitutional. They are intentionally standing down the intelligence apparatus of this country. They are reprioritizing intelligence collections efforts for climate change and reprogramming agencies and departments based on DEI and white rage, rather than what we did in the Trump administration, which is take on our adversaries head on. Iran, we shut them down from giving a nuclear bomb. And as you just noted, the Harris regime gave them $7 billion, and now they have one. The Iranians, we took out Qasem Soleimani under President Trump and shut down the IRGC and the Quds Force. And thanks to these guys, they are now halfway back into the Iran nuclear deal. And look at some of the folks that Biden and Harris have utilized for enhancing their relationship with Iran. Robert Malley, the special envoy, the super genius behind the original JCPOA, has been suspended by the FBI for mishandling classified information about Iran. And we get no details about it. He gets fired essentially from the State Department, and he goes off to teach at a lofty university while the American public is left blind. This type of intelligence capabilities from Iran take months and months and months to put out and plan, and they have the patience to do it. But our intelligence community, when focused on the threat, has the ability to detect it and prevent it and shut it down. And the Biden-Harris regime has intentionally delayed and only gave President Trump a briefing when he requested it. They weren't even proactive in going and defending this man because they don't want to.
That's a sad truth. I hate to end on a sad note, folks, but that is the absolute truth. The Department of Justice, the intel agencies, the Biden-Harris regime could care less about Donald Trump's safety. And for the most part, a lot of them would prefer if his safety was compromised. And I'll just leave it at that, folks. Everybody have a great day. Like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to get your neighbor registered to vote if you haven't already. Your neighbors, your friends, anybody you talk to, go grab somebody you don't know and ask them if they're registered to vote. Start up a conversation. Ask them why they're not voting. Do they need a ride? I do implore everybody to do your best to not just vote, register and vote yourself, but try to get at least somebody in your family, one of your friends, somebody you just met, somebody that you haven't met yet. Get them at least headed in the right direction. We've got to win this, folks. We've got to swamp them. We've got to make it too big to rig. Everybody have a great day. Like, subscribe, and share. Over and out.